This is Chapter 7, Demand and Supply, discussion number 2, How Demand Changes. Now remember that economists use models and graphs in order to visualize basic economic concepts. And since demand and supply are some of the most basic ideas, they have definitely found a way in order to show you what they're talking about. So first of all, to create a chart of demand, we need to essentially gather the information, and we put it into a table, or what's referred to as a demand schedule. After you have your demand schedule, then you're going to plot the points on a regular XY axis. Now, what's extremely important at every single time that you are graphing demand or supply, you are to remember that the quantity, whether it's quantity demanded or quantity supplied, is always going to be on the X or the horizontal axis. Price is always going to be on the vertical axis, or what you know as the y-axis. So we've graphed this schedule of DVDs based on price, and we've put it into the chart. And you see that we put the points, and then we connected them with the yellow lines. And now we have what's referred to as the demand curve. All right, make sure you remember that. Now, there are ways that we can change this line. First of all, remember that if we change the price, that only means we go to a different point on the same line. If we're going to change the line, that means that we're not considering price, but that there are circumstances that have changed that will have people increase their demand for a particular product or decrease their demand for a particular product, irregardless of price. Okay? Now, first one, changes in population. If you have an increase in population, it's more than likely that more people would like to purchase your item. Simple. Another way is changes in income. If your pay goes up, you are probably more likely to buy more stuff, right? Yes. If your pay goes down, then you are less likely. Now, when we're measuring this in a community, obviously, unless your name is Bill Gates, that your demand is not going to have an effect that's extremely measurable on this economic scale. But let's say that a factory closes down, or that a factory is being built. That's going to have a significant effect on the income of a population. Well, and also change in taste and preferences. Something becomes popular, and everybody wants it, and that would increase demand regardless of price. Or it's discovered that some kind of nitwit thought it was a very popular thing, and now no one wants to have anything to do with it. That would be a decrease in taste and preferences. So that would be a change in demand. Another way to change demand is when we're dealing with substitutes. Now, all that means is that, let's say that you are standing in the aisle of Walmart and you are taking a look at spatulas. And as you look at the spatula, you see that they pretty much look about the same thing. They have the same goals to flip your pancakes in the morning, but one is priced $4.50 and the other one is priced $9. Which one are you going to buy? Now, you might say, well, the $9 one's a pretty color. Well, yeah, but normal people are going to go after the cheaper item. So, if the price of a substitute good goes up, then you're more likely that your demand is going to go up. For example, let's say those two spatulas were sitting right there and they're both $4.50. And then it's probably going to be 50-50 of who buys what. But if, let's say, we're taking a look at the pretty spatula and it's $4.50, but the price of the other spatula goes down. So even though we're going to be talking about the price of the pretty spatula, we're still saying we're not changing price, but some other price change, which is going to affect the price of the item the demand of the product that we're talking about. Another thing to consider when we're talking about changes in demand is the idea of complementary goods and services. And this is not someone saying that you're a really nice student and here's an A. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is that these are items that have to have another good with it in order for it to operate. For example, a lot of things, batteries and electronics. If you're going to be getting an electronic, you're going to be taking a look at what's it take to keep that electronic going. If battery prices go up, even though the complementary good we're talking about, its price is not changing and we still have that nice pretty demand curve. If the complementary price goes up, that would mean that the good we're talking about, its demand is going to decrease. A good example that has been used oftentimes, especially as we watch gas prices go up and down like a yo-yo, is the idea of, are you going to buy an SUV? When you buy an SUV, usually the gas mileage is pretty terrible. And for a long period of time, when gas was cheap, people bought SUVs because that they could make them go, and they had lots of opportunities for use, and it was the thing to do. However, when gas prices shot up, and all of a sudden it got to be a lot more expensive to fill your SUV, people started trading in their SUV and getting better gas mileage cars. And so that's the idea of a complementary good. We're taking a look at the demand for SUVs, but it was the price of gas that affected what people would purchase or not purchase. So let's take a look at that demand curve again. We have an original demand curve, but we're going to show that there's going to be a decrease in demand. So when we draw a new curve, now remember, this is the new curve doesn't have to be precisely on the dot because we're kind of guessing here, but we want to guess in the correct direction. So you see that the new line, the yellow line, the big thick one that I have there, has moved to the left, right? That shows a decrease in demand. So if we were to draw the lines across, we see that at $15, the original amount was about 45, but now it's about 10. So that is definitely a decrease in the amount demanded. If we wanted to show an increase in demand, we see that the curve has moved to the right. For example, we take a look at $25. At $25, 20 was demanded, and now at $20, 60 are being demanded. And so that obviously shows the new curve having an increase in demand. Be careful because on the test I am going to be asking you to redraw curves based on these changes of circumstances. Now, one caution that we want to talk about. Whenever you're considering the moving of a demand curve, and more precisely also the supply curve, never think up and down. Now, demand curve, it doesn't really mess you up a bunch, but supply curve, it will absolutely be wrong. So, when you're thinking increase or decrease, only think right to left. And if you're not sure, do what I just did when I showed you how to do the increase in demand or the decrease in demand. Pick an original point on the original curve and then say, okay, I want more of that at the same price. And then that's going to tell you which direction you need to go. All right, final idea about demand and making curves is when we take a look at the curve, can we see if it has price elasticity? What price elasticity means is this an item that is very affected by a price change? If we vary the price, there's going to be a significant amount of difference in the amount that's going to be demanded. Elastic demand means that there's a large change in the amount demanded based on price. If you look at the graph on the left on slide number 14, that is a curve that shows elastic demand. You see that going from $30 to $25, the slope is pretty low. You're going, and as it go all the way across, all the way to 25, you see that you from $30 to about $11, we've gone from about 1 to 25. That's a significant elastic demand type of curve. However, we can take a look at the one on the right using the same scale, and we say that this curve has more of an inelastic demand because as we're going from $30 to no dollars, we're going from approximately 10 to 17 items. Now, what kind of things would have inelastic demand? Things that people don't really need, they're wants, they're quickie things. They're not really a whole bunch of have to. Whereas inelastic demand are items that people have to have and usually can't live without. Now I know some of you say can't live without my cell phone, but this is more about, for example, diabetic insulin or baby formula diapers, things that you're going to buy no matter what the price is, unless there is something really tight going on. That's what inelastic demand is all about. This concludes discussion number 2, how demand changes, as part of Chapter 7, Demand and Supply.